Welcome to the Vale
Matters
podcast, brought to you by Evesham Noticeboard Group.
We will explore topics from local politics and economy to education and events dedicated to Evesham, Pershore and Broadway.
We will also feature stories from everyday people to learn about their experiences and get a better understanding of how our community is changing.
So join us.
Let's talk about the things that matter in the Vale.
Wow, hello guys. Thank you for joining us. I've got two very interesting guests with me today for our January, the first one of the year podcast at the Vale Matters. So I'm going to introduce Reverend Mark Hutchinson, who's our community minister for Wallace House. For those that don't know, he's a trustee and a volunteer. And plus he's 10 years experience as a spoken word performer and offers insights into mindfulness and mental health and spirituality. So, and we've also got, very lucky to have, psychic reader, mediumship reader, Minty May, who's provided this spiritual service reading and tarot cards for over 30 years. In the air, so welcome to the Vale Matters podcast, guys. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having us.
Good to be here.
Thanks, that's good. So I'm just going to start with some quick fire questions, and it's just a quick fire. So, Mark, talking or texting, which do you prefer?
Talking.
Talking, Minty?
Talking.
It should be in what you guys do. That's an obvious one. That was an obvious one. Okay, maybe a little bit tougher now. Favourite thing about Evesham?
The countryside.
The countryside. Yeah, I like that.
My trees.
Definitely. You like your walks, don't you?
I love my walks and I love the
see?
trees.
Yeah, it is. It's gorgeous, isn't it? We're lucky to be surrounded by it as well. Mark, I know that you live and you go bounce between here and up
I
north.
do, but it's the river for me.
The riverside.
Yeah.
It is beautiful, isn't it? We're really lucky to have that. Another one, asparagus or broccoli?
Broccoli.
Broccoli?
Broccoli.
Oh no, you guys can't be from Evesham. If you don't eat the grass, you're not from Evesham. Okay, if you could meet anyone from the past or present, I know this is a difficult one sometimes, but if you could meet someone from the past or present, who would it be?
Ooh. David Bowie.
That's great. Yeah.
I love his music, and he was a
Yeah.
very spiritual guy as well.
Was he?
Very, very. If you listen to a lot of his songs,
Yeah.
he might have had a few enhancements.
Yeah.
But if you listen to his words or listen to his, even when he's doing his talking or his interviews, they're very, very spiritual, very, very in tune with like the real world, as I call it.
Yeah, I suppose it is, isn't it? Songs are, when you think about it, they are part of mindfulness and making people think and connecting with us. So,
Yeah.
Mark, do you have anyone, or is that difficult? Do you want me to move on?
I'm going to say Donald Trump.
Really? That's,
Ooh.
yeah. For what reason, though?
Well, if you're to challenge somebody to think about how the world's working and how we can make it better, well, no better go to the person who's likely to be having quite an influence on it later in the year.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. So would you interrogate him then?
I would endeavour to have a discussion and debate.
Yes. Yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
I would try and do.
That's a good one. I don't know if I could keep cool, though.
No, I couldn't.
I don't think I could keep cool with that one. And the last one is, do you believe in ghosts?
I do.
Yeah.
There is a difference between ghost and spirit, though.
Right, okay.
If you'd like me to explain.
No, I didn't know that.
No?
Yeah.
So spirit is where, if I'm doing a reading for someone, I've got someone's loved one coming forward and they're giving me their information, or if I've gone to a haunted location and I see a spirit, I'm communicating with them. So I'm communicating with that energy. A ghost is like a recording, so it's like watching your favourite film on TV. You can see them, you can see all the movements and everything, but they're not going to interact with you because it's a recording of energy.
Oh, wow. So
That's the
it's
easiest
like
way
what's
to
been left behind.
It's what's been left behind.
A ghost is like part of a memory. Or...
So you getting up out of bed every morning going to brush your teeth, and because it's such a continuous, probably routine that you're doing, you're leaving an energy imprint, and that energy imprint can then turn into a ghostly figure or a ghostly energy. And so when people are saying, like in York especially, I see Romans walking along the road, but I don't see their feet, it's because they're walking on the original road. Now, Annoyingly, probably up until a few years ago, the councils used to repair the roads. That could be a different story altogether. But they're walking on the original road. So that's where you'll see like their ankles up. But it's a recording of that march. It's a recording of that spirit energy. But spirit is where they'll give me information about you. They'll be like telling me about themselves. So it's a completely different energy.
Yeah. Wow, that makes sense though, doesn't it? Because you do hear these stories. Even in Evesham, we've got our local ghosts.
Oh yeah.
And I've done the ghost tour, and with Spiritus, the shop that was in Evesham, and it was with Michael. It was brilliant.
Yeah.
And we learned a lot. And actually, that was following ghosts.
Yeah.
Places where people used to commune, gather at certain times. So yeah, it makes sense. What about you, Mark? What do you believe in ghosts?
I don't recognise that definition, but what I experience, I believe in energetic forces that I don't understand, and I think that science tells us that our brains communicate with energy around us, and we do not yet know how that works. And so therefore we will see things and experience things that we don't understand. Right. Which Minty will probably say is a different way of saying exactly what he's just said.
But you don't understand it.
Sorry?
You don't understand it.
I just wouldn't use the word ghost. And I probably would use the word spirit, almost in the same way that Minty says it. But I think there's that basis around how the energy works from our brains. Science is showing us that we communicate outside our body just as we communicate within the smallest part of our bodies.
Yeah. Wow. It's deep, isn't it?
It is deep.
It is, and it's interesting to see two different perspectives here. Is it controversial to put you two together? I mean, you do things to work together.
We do work together anyway, but we'll wind each other up sometimes. In all fairness, I mean, I'll say that Mark's a medium, and he gets really annoyed with me when I say that. But the way he channels, or the way that he's able to help people. I mean, when we've worked together on platform together, I'll say to him, "Well, that's channeling," and he'll be like, "No, it's not."
It's not. It's certainly not.
You're like a little comedy pair, aren't you, really? It's quite good. I think you bounce off each other well. So, Mark, I've listened to some of your the spoken word, the mind travels.
Mind travels, that's right.
So I loved the poetry in that. We know you're a volunteer. I don't know if many people know you're also an entrepreneur.
Yes.
And you spend a lot of time volunteering for our community, Wallace House, to make what we've got here. It's been part of our community for such a long time. But your job as one of the trustees, do you want to explain to us, rather than me babbling on about what you do? You know what you do better than me.
I currently act as chair of trustees. There's a group of us became trustees almost 2 years ago now. Previously been solely the town council. We've been consolidating the finances in preparation for what hopefully will become a major fundraising exercise, and the plan is to make Wallace House once again self-financing. The change in the rental market over the years in terms of retail properties and the cost of running this place means that it isn't self-financing at the moment. We have to rely on grants. So we're in the middle of what is a kind of 2-year programme. And during the course of this year, we're gonna launch some major fundraising activities.
Exciting.
I think so. Yeah, we've got some structural stuff to do. We've got stuff to do with the sports hall that needs the windows replacing. We've got 42 High Street where U-turn used to be, which we need to refurbish to secure our future income. And we need everybody in Evesham who recognises the joy of this place. Soon we'll have a card reader just come in and give us £1 when you're in town. We need all of that.
Yeah, and so for those people, let's just look at it from the people who may not understand what Wallace House is, and it's because it's been here since I believe 1946.
Yeah,
and it was given to the people by Smedley Pease. That was his nickname.
Yeah.
I don't know his real name, just know Smedley Pease. It was given to the people of Evesham, and it currently is home to a community larder, like a food bank project, and into several groups and charities that can hire rooms and use the facilities. Is that correct?
Yeah, our position is to rent our multiplicity of rooms to members of the community and some commercial interests. The NHS use it and local businesses use it as well. And we try and do it at an absolute fair value to the community. Our constitution talks a lot about youth work, so we're looking to re-energise that process. But we've got a whole range of groups that use the place, and we want more.
Yeah, and you've got U-Turn, which is one of the youth groups.
And U-Turn, of course, looks after young people who are having difficulties with school and is a really successful part of the organisation. They're now moved to a fully refurbished Red Cross building, and they've got 3 years lottery funding behind them, and they're really now looking to develop strongly.
Right, so there's going to be a lot of opportunities here, am I right, for more community projects and community groups to come in and use that. That's the mission, to get the...
It is, yeah. Obviously we rent our rooms, so we're interested in anybody who wants to come and rent our rooms, but we're also really interested in collaborative projects that can make a difference in the community. Yeah. They can help us understand the difficulties that we have, for example, around climate change and anxiety that's there with a lot of people. If there is anything out there that we can connect with people around all the villages as well around Evesham, we're open to all those possibilities.
That's exciting. And I think I've had a tour around Wallace House, and it's actually surprising how large it is, and that there's a sports hall, that you could they can play basketball in, or there's so many different size rooms. It's just a lot larger than I realised.
Yeah, we're in one of the little rooms now, which is kind of almost like a doctor's consulting room, for want of a better description. But we've got the sports hall that has table tennis, football, cricket, all sorts going on. So please do get in touch. It is a rare thing for what I call an old-style community centre sat in the middle of a town to still be here. Yeah. I work a lot around the country and have done for the last 7 or 8 years. And there aren't many of these around. It's precious, and that's why I volunteer, because I want to do my best with the other trustees and the fantastic staff and volunteers who work here to make sure this place is still here in another 20 years.
How many volunteers are there here?
I should know the answer to that question.
I should have told you I was going to ask you.
Actually, I don't. They're fantastic. I'm really glad we've got them, but we always need more.
Yes.
Because the real way that the community centre will work is more and more volunteers coming to interact with us and the various groups around the town to achieve good stuff and make a difference.
Yeah. So what's the future looking like? I know that we've said that the improvements to the buildings. What would you like to see Wallace House in 5 years' time? Well,
my personal ambition is to get the financial position so that it's self-sustaining, so that we can look after ourselves with our rental income, and then the grants that we then go for are able to do substantive good stuff. And we're probably 12 to 18 months away from that position. The other side of it with the staff and volunteers is to really look for exciting projects that we can use our asset, this place in the centre of town, to make a difference to people's lives.
Yeah, and that's, we were very grateful, Evesham Noticeboard and the Vale Matters podcast, that Wallace House host us now, that this is our home for the podcast as well, and that there's the equipment here for the community to use this podcast equipment.
Absolutely, this podcast equipment here is for anybody in the community to come in. You need to download a bit of software, especially youngsters, come in and do some podcasts. It'd be great to have them being done. So all you need to do is get in touch with the centre and we can organise that.
Lovely. And is it connected to the chapel, Wallace House?
No.
No, it's not connected at all.
No,
it's different. Okay, so how can the community get involved at the moment? Is it to wait and see and watch, or to just get in touch? Because I've had a look at the website, and there's information on there as well.
Obviously get in touch if you want to rent a room, or you've got a project that we can collaborate with. Just keep your eyes open when we're ready to go fundraising later in this year and explaining the detail about what we do.
Yeah.
And if somebody's got a particularly interesting link into the community and kind of developing something fresh, get in touch with myself. I'm really interested in seeing we can help, especially in the areas around mental health.
Yeah, that's very good. So what drives you, Mark, to do this? Because it's a volunteer role. You're driving around the country, up and down, running your business, coming back here. You know, what drives you to do this?
For 10 or 15 years, I've worked with men mainly in mental health on an individual basis and in groups. And we're all aware of the pressures that are with the NHS. We need more of everything. We need more opportunities for people to help themselves, as well as for the bits where the state needs to do its bit to do its bit. So what drives me is continually hope, offering people the opportunity to achieve that, either by getting themselves a bit better, that's the personal work that I do, or working in a place like this where lots of different things can happen. People can see that it's making a difference, and then hopefully that makes a difference to other people's lives. And when somebody else's life gets into a more stable and better place, well, not all of them will go and do good. I'm not naive enough to think that that's the case, but a fair old chunk of them will, and that's what motivates me.
Yeah, that's inspirational. And that has that been part of the Mind Travels podcast that you do as well? Is that
so? The Mind Travels podcast is something that developed with a pianist friend of mine, Josh Johnson. I've written poetry for a long time, and we just combined and realised that when I do the spoken word and he plays the music, that we combine mental health awareness and mindfulness in quite an innovative way. So we do those performances with the aim of people coming along and experiencing a bit of quiet and a bit of time to think in a different way. So it is really aimed at people who have got perhaps experiencing difficulties, but also perhaps just really busy and not able to get a piece of quiet time.
Yeah.
And it's slowly developing. And I do this now as the Mind Travels experience, where I do it as a personal performance on my own, which I've started doing. I've done 3 or 4 of those now, and I'm more than happy to go and do that as a fundraising thing for charities that are related to mental health.
That's great. So that could happen here.
It could happen here, yes.
Yes, yeah. You did have one last year, didn't you, at the chapel?
Josh has come over. We've performed at the Methodist Church and the Parish Church, actually.
Yeah.
As together, but I'm currently I'm on at the Malvern Festival of Ideas at the beginning of March, just to give that a plug, something I'm involved in. And there's a performance of the Mind Travels experience there.
So I have listened to the Mind Travels. I've listened to a couple actually, and they are really. It's actually relaxing, and it does make you think. And Good. I know that's cheesy, but it is mindfulness, because it's good. And the music combined with the piano as well, it's quite beautiful. And it's not something that I thought I would enjoy, because I'm not a poet, I'm not normally into reading poetry, but listening to it was a much more enjoyable experience for me. So I really enjoyed it, and I'd recommend anyone listening to find the Mind Travels
podcast. It's on most podcast places where you get it. Yeah, Mind Travels.
Yeah, and they're only 10 minutes.
Yeah, they're between 5 and 10 minutes maximum.
Yeah. And there's loads on there.
There is.
Going back for how many have you done now?
I think we've done about 56, 57. So we do a weekly podcast now, as long as we can sustain it, and we'll see.
Yeah, well done. I thought it was really good, and it was nice to listen to, and that sort of brought me on to bringing in Minty May, because you two have worked together as well and collaborated on spiritual dimensions. Sorry, yes. And that was in 2001? 2021,
2001?
Sorry. I know. I was testing you.
The last couple of years, we've done
about 3 or 4 events. I think our last one was actually last April, when we did the psychic fair at the town hall, and then we did an evening of mediumship and worked together on that one as well. Mm. So I did the mediumship side with a very good friend of mine, Indigo, and Mark did, I would call it bibliography, which is where you're reading quote me if I'm wrong, but it's like reading a small passage but then elaborating on it to get the message across to the person that's needing it, or the help.
That's what I do, yeah.
In like a poetry style way.
Well, I read from philosophical or scriptural text, so I have a method of getting a paragraph or 2 to read out, and then I reflect that back to the person. Right. So he says I'm being a medium. I say I'm not.
So is it like a comedy act of mindfulness on stage with you too?
I always say you've got to have fun.
Yeah.
You've got to have laughter because that raises
Yeah.
the vibration. Especially when I'm working as a medium. Yes, I still take it very, very seriously. And there can be some serious messages that come through, or the messages that come through, they can be emotional, but 99% of the time it's tears of happiness
Yes.
rather than sadness, if that makes sense. So it's having that fine balance of fun,
Yeah.
but also bringing loved ones forward to be able to pass messages on, or having that connection with the past loved one.
Are we likely to see you two collaborate together again?
We are.
Yeah, I think
End of March.
End of March, with just finalising venues and dates, so there'll be
Excellent.
somewhere in Evesham at the end of March. Yeah,
Evesham
That's
and
brilliant.
Malvern.
and Malvern. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Minty, I mean, you can share the links for those as well. Just keep telling our community where you are and what you're doing.
No, thank you.
Minty, you've got a large Facebook following, 6,000, and I think when you have your live videos, you can have thousands of views and comments and interactions. It's Facebook. The Facebook page is called Minty's Tarot and Mediumship Readings. You can find him on Google, on Facebook,
Yep.
And you'll probably see him on Evesham Noticeboard and lots of other where he's posting.
I am grateful that you let
Yeah.
me post on there.
Oh, I know, it's great to be working with you guys, with you as well. You've been doing this for 30 years, as we said earlier, online and in person and at events as
Yeah.
well. And I've attended one of your events at Cornmill Yard, and there was about 25
Round about
other
that.
people there. And I totally agree with what your mission, I think, is, or your vision for what you intend. The intention that you put out there is to provide this with a straight talking, with no gimmicks.
Yeah.
Because of your industry, that's something that you really feel strong that you need to make sure that's there, and you really do as well. And I and my mum who was with us really enjoyed it and found it very very emotional, but very comforting as well. And you do lives on Facebook as well, which you did one last night, and you provide these free of charge, don't you? You'll
Yeah.
do a live to the community, and I seen last night there was the feedback that you get. I know you've got listeners from around the world as well. So Evesham, I know we're lucky to have Minty May trust us, because he's listened to around the world. But we had one of your listeners said, "Thank you, Minty. You really lift me up with your effort and time and energy. Bless you." And that was from Sophie. And I just thought you should hear that, because I know you've probably read it, but it's nice for you to hear what people actually are saying as well.
I really appreciate that.
Yeah, well, it's what you were doing last night online, talking to these, to people and helping them and supporting them, was enlightening for them. So, but I don't, and there's probably lots of us out there, we don't really understand how you do what you do and why you do what you do. So this is your time now, Minty, to...
I sometimes get people ask me, how do I do what I do? And I say I'm either a crazy person with voices in my head and I'm not bad at guessing, or I am a medium. It's the easiest way I can explain. When you read a newspaper or a book and you've got your own little inner voice,
Yeah.
well, imagine having someone else's little inner voice coming in that ain't yours, and they're giving you information, you're like, what? But I'm also picking up on energy. I'm picking. I see. I hear. I smell. I wish I didn't sometimes. Trust me. I'm an ex-smoker of. It'll be 11. Well, it's actually just over 11 years I quit smoking, and every now and again I'll get someone that was a heavy smoker, and I'm like, you can have that back. I don't want that. Or,
Wow, so it's a full experience. Then,
yeah,
isn't it?
or someone can wear really strong especially blokes. They seem to wear really strong aftershave, and it can be quite choking. The women that come through, if they come through with perfume or anything, it's quite subtle, quite gentle, and
But
it's quite
men,
pleasant.
Come
But
on,
men,
they wear Old Spice. Come on.
wow, it's Old Spice or High Karate, I think was another one from the 80s. But no, it's just that really strong. It's I think I've probably been guilty of it, certainly back in my teenage years, of wearing far too much deodorant. You know what I mean? It's that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's like you're going to smell me coming round the corner rather than see
Yeah.
me. But no, I mean, how I got into my line of work, I was about 5 years old, and my grandmother, she was a medium, and bless her heart, she passed in 2012 and still gives me a kick up the backside now. She's now become one of my main spirit guides. But she saw me talking to her two brothers one day. Now, I'm 5 years old, I don't remember, but apparently I was chatting away, playing away. And she goes, who are you talking to? And I said, I'm talking to Uncle Jim, Uncle George. And she was like, okay, describe them to me. And I described them to a T. Well, they both passed during the Second World War.
Yeah.
No, I'm not that
You'd
old.
never met them, no?
I never met them. I've seen
Yeah.
photographs, but I'm 5 years old. I mean,
Yeah.
what 5-year-old? I mean, especially me, was like Zebedee. You know, I'm literally here, there and everywhere, running around like a nutter. But she realised that I could see spirit and I could hear spirit. So she taught me how to meditate. Now, as I'm saying, I'm 5 years old. She had the patience of a saint, how to get a 5-year-old to meditate. And I still use this meditation today, and it's a great one here. It was sitting in her garden, closing my eyes, and she'd be like, can you hear the bees buzzing around my flowers? Can you hear the wind blowing through the trees? And all she was doing was getting me to quiet my mind.
Yeah.
Because it's through the subconscious side of my mind is where I connect with spirit. Over the years, she taught me how to use tarot cards, crystals, pendulums, Ouija boards. I do use Ouija
Wow.
boards. Yes, and no more
We were
dangerous.
told not to use them when we were kids.
Oh.
We had one of them, yeah.
Horror films have got a lot to answer for. And she also got me, well, she tried to get, now I've got a funny story about tea leaves. Now, bearing in mind, I'm a 6-shot hazelnut mocha, for anyone that knows me, and I can have 2 or 3 of those a day, so I'm a definite coffee drinker.
I think they even named a coffee after you at Brewbed.
They did. It was the Minty,
The Minty.
mocha. So if anyone wants to go there, it's 6 shots of coffee, so it's on your own head. I tried 8 once.
You might be seeing and hearing things then.
You probably will. I think this is something my ex-wife, she used to turn around and say, I'm sure it's the coffee that allows you to see into the future. But my grandmother tried to get me to do tea leaves. Now, I can't even stand tea. I don't even like the taste of it. So anyway, she's got me to drink this tea, turn my cup over, you twiddle the cup round 3 times, and then she's like, right, have a look inside, what do you see? And I was about, 11 or 12, and I look at her square in the eyes and I goes, tea. I've never seen my gran get angry. She's like, don't be stupid, what do you see? And I'm like, gran, seriously, all I see is splodges of tea. She's like, give me the cup here. Apparently where the tea falls in the cup, the shapes it makes, they're all different ways. And she's like, well, what about this? What about that? And I'm like, gran, it's just tea. And she's just like, call yourself one of us. She says, I read tea leaves, my mum read tea leaves, her mum read tea leaves. So you're getting this pattern. Now, bearing in mind I'm the first male in the family to do what I do, yeah. I'm the first one in the male in the family to not read tea leaves. The funny thing is, I actually went to an evening, it wasn't one of my own, this was someone else who was working as a medium one night, and I went there along. So I love seeing other people work. I love seeing how other people work. And I just thought, I'm going to go along and see. First thing she came through with was, she goes, I've got to come to you, she said, but I've got someone that's angry about tea. And I was just like, oh, here we go. It's like, gran, seriously. It's like it's like I'm 45 this year. I was about 11 at the time. I'm like, you think you'd realise I'm not going to do tea leaves, but she's still, every time she comes through, she's like, oh, and I just want to mention the tea leaves.
I think one day you're going to look at the tea leaves and be like, wow, I can see it.
I probably will, in all fairness. I think she'd be really pleased if I did it once, but no.
So it was a really young age that you discovered that, it was your gran that
It was my gran.
signpost, sort of seen that, and then so since then this has been your career, your life.
It's always, so from the age of 13 I started working at psychic fairs with her, and I do readings.
Wow, at 13?
Yeah, so it's actually now going to be 32 years this year that I've been working as a medium.
Can I just say, 13 years old, and I'm going in for, if I was going for a reading, and you're reading to adults as a 13-year-old.
As a 13-year-old.
How did you find that? Did they...
Some people were like, oh, well, this is novel, this is different. And other people are a bit like, you sure you can do this? Kind of thing, looking at you like, but because my grandmother was there next to me, she was doing it as well, so people knew
you the confidence,
it gave the confidence, and they'd be like, go and see my grandson, kind of thing.
Yeah, I was just thinking maybe you had the beard when you were 13.
I would like to say I had a beard when I was 13. I literally only managed to grow this probably about a year ago. Puberty has only just finally caught up with me. The joys of being ginger.
Oh, I'm married to a ginger, I know.
I started off, I mean, I was always been born with a deep voice, but the beer just took a little while longer to come through. And I'm certainly still a child. I've never been one for being, I ain't adulting, I refuse to. But no, joking aside though, I've always worked in various different industries and different trades and stuff over the years, but it was 4 years ago, 2020 was when I started self-employed.
Yeah.
With
well
it.
Done.
And literally from there onwards, it was, that's all I do.
So now you do a mixture of the online readings and you do it in person as well.
Yeah.
Have you got those planned as well? Are you doing them again this year?
Yeah, I do them all the time. Yeah, no, I do them. People can, I mean, I literally, whenever I put my new dates up, people can book me for either in person or online. So all my list of availabilities are for both.
Yeah.
And it's on a weekly basis.
So do you go out to people's homes as well?
I do if they have me for a party.
Yeah. A Ouija board party.
Some do. But no, normally I go along with my cards and I do people one-to-one readings at a party. So I actually went and done an event 2 weeks ago. Well, I went to someone's place 2 weeks ago in Redditch. They'd hired me for
That's
the evening.
That's a really good idea.
Yeah, and I actually did a wedding party it was last year. Yeah, I have to remember what year we're in. Yeah, last year I did a wedding party for someone that they had me as their, as a reader there for their guests, and that went really, really well. That was really successful. But no, I mean, people can literally book me for one-to-one readings, whether it's online or in person.
Yeah.
And lockdown was a massive help for that, because I'd never have thought of doing it online if it wasn't for lockdown.
Lockdown has helped us all in different ways.
It has.
It's had its silver lining. It's been horrible. It was horrible.
Oh, it was
I don't mean it
horrible.
would helped us, but it's
No.
got those little things that we've all come out with. You've got to look on the positive, and I know you guys do.
Yeah.
Try and look at the bright side and the positive side of things. So, so I think it's great that it's brought that out for you as well.
It was nice to see some positive coming out from quite a dark time. I mean, it was a friend of mine that said to me, do what you do on a live on my page. And I was like, I was really dubious. So even I'm a little bit sceptical. And I'm like, are you sure it works? And she's like, yeah, it does. Done this live, loved it, opened the world up.
Yeah. So how do you feel? Is it when people are talking to you online, because they're typing the messages, aren't they?
Yeah.
Or do they message you prior to the...
No. I literally, whoever's watching,
You're
I literally
doing the
go
cards.
straight there for them. So I've got no knowledge of who's watching or anything. So there's nothing previous. And I'm literally having to trust what I'm being given because there's always that 15 to 30 second delay, especially with Facebook, waiting for that response. And you were saying you were watching last night, and it's like, that's the nice thing. Those responses, I don't know who I'm going to. I literally just will pick names. I get drawn to names, and then I ask sometimes people to ask me a question, or they can ask for a general. So there's a mixture of both.
Yeah.
And I'm literally just going with whatever I pick up. And I think there was one lady that was watching last night, and she never even mentioned it, but I picked up that apparently she's pregnant.
Oh, wow. Well, she knew herself.
Oh, no, she knows herself she's pregnant. But I wouldn't have known, and I just turned and went, I can say it because it was on the live, but I said that there's a baby boy coming into the family in like the next 6 to 12 months or something along those lines. And she was like, well, actually, I'm pregnant.
Wow.
And I'm only seeing a very, very tiny little picture on the comments, and I'm just waiting for these comments to come through.
Do you think anyone can have this mindfulness and spiritualness and pick up on these vibrations of other people? Do you think that's within all of us?
We do. You walk into a room and you'll know if someone's upset, you'll know if someone's happy. That's energetic reading.
Yeah.
And that's, at the end of the day, that's when I do readings. I call it an energy reading. I describe myself differently, but it is about seeing what's in front of you, and going with what that brings.
What do you ever? You may not want to say this, but do you ever get it wrong?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It does happen. It's going to happen,
Yeah.
isn't it?
There's even times
because people mask as well, don't they?
Yeah.
So they might be
very much
like
so.
poker face.
Well, I'm not trying to answer specific questions, so everything I do is about an invitation to guidance to your life. So it's a bit hard to describe it as wrong. But what I would say is that I'll be talking to somebody and they look at me as if I'm speaking a different language, and that's fine, But that's the way it is. So, but I believe that if you seek guidance in your life, however you want to describe that, and Minty's given his version of one. I think there are many different ways that appears for people. And my job is to try and invite them to find the one that works for them. That's what I try and do.
I always say, and I've always been very honest about this, if any medium ever tries to claim they can do 100% true readings, they're lying, they can't. We're not God, we're not superhuman. Christ, I'm a bloke, for starters. So I definitely don't get it right all the time, if ever. But no, I say you should expect a high 80s, 90s percentage-wise of accuracy. But there are times where I get it back to front. So a lot of the time I'll be like, you got 3 children, I'll say you got 2 girls and a boy, and it'll turn around, you got 2 boys and a girl. Those are the things where I tend to get wrong. But I even have people come to me and I get nothing. Yeah. And I will be the first one to go, I'm not getting anything. Yeah. Or I might get little bits, but it's not anything of substance, so to speak. Yeah. A lot of the time that's either because people aren't ready for the reading, or the energy isn't right. It's not for anything bad, it's just that I'm not picking up on your energy at that time. Yeah. And I probably do about 10, 15 of those a year. Now, I normally give people 2 options, because if I can't give them a reading, then they don't pay me, simple as. And I always have a 15-minute barrier. If I get in too many no's or there's not enough coming through, I'll be the first one to go, you know what, we'll end the session now. You can either come back and see me in a month's time, which most people do, and then they have a really nice reading, or some of them will either not pay me, or if they pay me online, because I always take payment in advance, I then refund them the full amount straight back as well. But I've always been a firm believer, honesty and integrity is everything. Yes, yeah. And that's where you build the trust, isn't it? Yeah. Especially, as we said, with what... And I won't sit there and try and make stuff up. I know some readers will, and they'll start going very generic, basically saying like, oh, I've got someone of grey hair named John, Paul, George or Ringo, Yeah. It doesn't work like that, and I've always said that if I'm not getting something, I'll be the first one to go. I'm not getting it, and I'm a firm believer in have that healthy level of skepticism. Come with an open mind if it's your first time, or any time. Always come with a little bit of an open mind, but have that healthy level of skepticism as well with who you go to. And my version of that is I will say to people, are you willing to believe that you can look at life in a different way? And that might be to do with some power that's outside of yourself, or something that somebody might prefer to describe as God, which I tend not to. But I say, are you willing? And if the answer to that is no, well, I haven't got any money to refund. But at the end of the day, there's not much point going any further, because you've got to be willing to believe that there's a different way of looking at the world. At the end of the day, what you both do is your mission is to have a positive impact on people's lives. Yeah, and that's what you're doing for our community, and for us people in Evesham and Pershore and Broadway and Redditch and the areas that you work in, we're very lucky to have you, and we're lucky to follow you. You can follow Minty on Facebook, as I said, with your Facebook page. And Mark Hutchinson's the Mind Travels podcast, and also for Wallace House, please do take a look at like their Facebook page and take a look at the website. But we'll be sharing lots of news for that as well. But we want to say thank you so much, guys, for coming in today and taking your time out of your magical lives to I feel great as well now, so the vibrations are good. That's good. Thank you honestly for coming in and sharing it, and we'll be sharing this out to our community. I hope everyone enjoys it. If you do enjoy it, please share it with your friends, and you can click subscribe. We're on all the main podcast channels, and we just want to say thank you to our sponsors, which is Howden Insurance on the High Street, Bradford's Carpets and Beds, and also a massive thank you to Wallace House for hosting us and providing the equipment so that we can bring this community broadcast to you and have these nice conversations with our local community members. So thank you, guys. Thank you so much.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye.